Hey everyone, Matt here from Doctor Running, and today we're going to do a 100-mile review of the Mizuno Neo Vista 2. So this is Mizuno's super training shoe. It's been on the market for a little bit right now. Version 1 was a really interesting shoe. It was insanely bouncy when I got it, and it was like crazy to me to find out that this was an EVA midsole. Really enjoyed the initial miles, and then when I got to 100 miles, midsole really flattened out, also started to wear out a little bit quick and kind of stopped right there. Version 2, I kind of had the opposite experience where I really wasn't as excited when I first put on this shoe. I didn't feel like it was as bouncy. There was still a ton of shoe underfoot. There's still a stiffening agent, so fiberglass infused nylon plate underfoot, so it really has all the mechanisms to be a super trainer. Just wasn't as excited about it. And then as I continued wearing it, it actually worked really, really well for me, and there was some bias because I had some insertional Achilles tendinopathy that this shoe actually worked very, very well for. So what we're going to talk about today is obviously start with some specs, talk about how this shoe has worn over time, whether that's something you might be interested in or not, and then talk about a little bit of insertional Achilles tendinopathy and how flexible or a lack of a heel counter can be really beneficial. So as always, let's start off with specs in my men's size 10. So my men's size 10 is coming in at 10 ounces or about 284 grams. So for those wanting a little comparison with the previous version, this was about 9.5 ounces in my size 10 or about 268 grams. So a little weight increase over the previous version. The stack height is also a little bit taller. The original thing that we were given was about like 47 to 45 in the heel, like 37 to 39 in the forefoot. So I had an 8mm drop. There's other sources saying it's like 51 in the heel, 43 in the forefoot. All those don't surprise me at all. This shoe is super tall off the ground. There are two different layers of Mizuno Energy NXT, and this is a really great example of shoe companies calling a midsole something, but it being two completely different things, right? Every company does this out there. Just know that when you see a name that doesn't really tell you exactly what it is, it just may guide you a little bit. So Mizuno Energy NXT is a nitrogen-infused type foam. The top layer is TPU, so it's gonna be a little bit more firmer, a little more resilient. The bottom layer is gonna be EVA based, so a little bit softer, kind of like the original, a little bit more bounce to it. So those two layers interact really interesting. When I first put this on, it didn't have a lot of bounce. It felt like the heel was soft. Forefoot kind of rolled, it rolled really nicely off the front of the foot. So landing farther forward felt a lot better for me. I felt like just the heel was too mushy, and it was great for easy runs, for long runs, but trying to pick up the pace just didn't feel good. It was too much shoe. The midsole didn't respond fast enough, and I kind of didn't have the same versatility that the original did. What was different though is that the midsole actually has held its shape and stayed really consistent over these 100 miles. It really hasn't changed that much. There's been maybe a teeny bit of firming up, which has balanced out the heel very, very nicely. But outside of that, it stayed really consistent. So if you want a shoe that actually has a ton of resiliency and holds its shape well over time, unlike a lot of super shoes that just end up breaking down, this actually does really, really well. And I will say the outsole at 100 miles, which I'm really hard on shoes, is holding up also super well. So if you want a midsole and outsole that are extremely durable, this is a great shoe. It's also great because, and this is gonna sound really weird because we are paying, this is $200, so you're probably gonna want the most responsive ride. I actually appreciated out of this shoe that it was better in the long run, no pun intended, because it's not as bouncy. When you put this on, there's a lot of super shoes that honestly I get afraid of. Like I get afraid of wearing them too much because then when I transition to other shoes, it just kind of feels weird. Like it's not, the other shoes are no longer as bouncy. It's like these shoes kind of ruin other shoes. This one doesn't have that effect, which again is kind of counterintuitive, and you're welcome to comment on why this is dumb with what I'm saying for paying for $200, but it is durable, that it's not as insanely bouncy and it feels a little bit more balanced underfoot, which I kind of like. I don't want every single shoe I have to feel insanely bouncy, especially if it's meant as a daily training shoe. So it has a ton of cushioning underfoot, ton of protection. The ride is definitely a little bit more rocker, meant for kind of rolling along compared to the first version, which really bounced you along. So if that's something you like, great. The rockered ride definitely reduced some of the stress on my Achilles tendon, which was really nice because I was dealing with it being irritated, but it's not as insanely bouncy. Yes, there's a really soft heel, but you're not gonna get as much bounce out of the shoe. You're gonna get more of that roll and kind of more like consistent ride out of the shoe. Now, as it's broken in, I will say, as the midsole is firmed up just a teeny bit, it's gotten better at doing some up-tempo work. So doing long runs that are a little bit faster, or maybe doing just a little bit of tempo work, or like this shoe actually now does well. When it starts off, it was just too soft, and then as it's broken in more, it's getting better and better. One of the shoes that seems to age really well and break in very nicely as you get more miles on it and kind of changes its personality just a little bit while still holding up extremely well. So that's how midsole, outsole have changed over time. Upper has stayed really, really consistent. It's one of the few shoes out there that's going to have a really high volume upper. So very wide. So people with narrow feet, this is not going to work for you at all. And if somebody tells me below that they did, great. I'm really curious how that worked. But I really, as you can see, had to lock the laces down to get a secure fit, because it's not that it's a bad upper. There's just tons of width and tons of volume here. So if you have a really wide, high volume foot, this is probably going to be one of the few super trainers that actually works for you, because a lot of them actually can be a little bit more snug in many different models, or like have a really tapered toe box like the Mega Blast or the Super Blast. The Neo Vista 2 does not have that. There's tons of room here, plenty of room. This is also a rare shoe that like I can sit after run and it doesn't irritate my feet, so I can leave the upper on, where a lot of them I have to take off right away. Lots of room here. Just know that there's a lot of aeration here, so if you're living in a colder environment, like it's the winter time, it's almost December here in the Pacific Northwest, this is not very good because there's a lot of breathability here. So in the summer, this is really great, right? It's really aerated. The breathability is fantastic. My feet don't get hot. In the winter, my feet are freezing in the shoe when you're getting into those like 30-ish temperatures and below. So just know you're gonna have to wear some thicker socks with this, which is fine. The other thing that's really nice is there is no heel counter in this shoe. It's very flexible back here. And the reason why I was talking about this so much earlier is that I had a little bout with insertional Achilles tendinopathy. That means where the Achilles tendon inserts on the heel just gets really irritated. And it's very different from mid portion, kind of a little higher up, because you really have to restrict your range of motion, and a lot of times that heel bone also gets really sensitive. So I have a little Haglund deformity, little bony growth there that when it gets irritated, just gets super sensitive, and very stiff heel counters can be extremely irritating to my heel. This one doesn't have one, which makes it a great option for those that have sensitivities. It did not bother me at all. The new design of the upper really didn't cause any kind of excessive scratching here, which is really, really nice. I have worn this shoe sockless. It was great. I should say it was good. It would not be my top choice, because you just got to be careful with some of the stitching here, but it did better than the first version. I'd still prefer socks with how wide the shoe is, but it didn't bother my Achilles. And the other thing that was really nice about this is 8mm drop, so just not the highest, but a little bit higher, not too low, and then really nice, again, stiffened but rockered ride, not the stiffest, so it doesn't feel really unnatural. And sometimes shoes that are too stiff can also bother my Achilles, whereas having it just be a little bit flexible and also a little bit snappy really rolled things nicely along and just took a lot of stress off that area, and has been a go-to shoe for me to kind of get through miles as my Achilles tendon was recovering and I was loading it. Achilles tendinopathies are kind of those things that, as long as you can keep your symptoms within a tolerable level, you can still train through them. You're just not going to be able to wear low drop shoes, really, really aggressive shoes. You kind of got to back off a little bit. And yes, you can still get some miles in, but you really got to focus on your appropriate rehab and building back up, and not doing anything too stupid, like suddenly jumping into too aggressive speed work or wearing really low drop aggressive shoes. You just got to be smart and let the tendon recover and build it back up. This was a really awesome shoe for that, because of both, like I said, rockered ride, this little bit softer ride without being too mushy and not being too bouncy, which can sometimes feel weird, without being too stiff, and just the nice lack of a heel counter here was really, really comfortable. There still are a few shoes out there that don't have heel counters. There is a list that we put up on Doctors Running that has that if you want more information on that, but this is one of the go-to shoes for that, so that if you're really struggling with that, if you want a little higher stack height shoe that's not too insanely bouncy, but also holds itself up really, really well over longer miles, both in terms of durability and for long runs, it's phenomenal and keeps it shaped really well, while also having a little bit more volume. That's where the Neo Vista is going to be able to be an excellent choice for you if those things match your mechanics. Last thing I will say, the wider base, this is not as unstable as it seems, okay? It's just because of the way they've designed this, but the stability really tends to work a little bit better in the forefoot. Heel is not terrible, it's just like slightly guided, no massive sidewalls here. The central groove tends to keep things just slightly centered. It's not too great, it's not too poor in here, but it's really, as you go through the forefoot, this is notable that those that need forefoot lateral guidance, i.e. getting pushed lateral, if you're someone that collapses too far medial, this shoe actually works really, really well. Andrew and I both noticed that, so it's one of the rare shoes that has some kind of forefoot guidance here, so if that's something you need, if you're someone that collapses a little bit too much in the forefoot and you have trouble resupinating during toe off, this actually might be a good option for you, and it's held up really well, and that has not gone away over the 100 miles. So very durable shoe, very different from the previous version where, again, not as bouncy, but the midsole holds up way better. It's way more durable. Upper's been refined a little bit, so it fits a little bit better. And overall, I will admit it is a better shoe overall. Is it still really expensive? expensive. Yeah, 200 bucks is a lot for this kind of shoe. I'd still put it like the 180 range, but for the durability, it might be worth it, and very versatile shoe as that kind of long distance, long racer, long run, long easy run kind of shoe for those that are interested. Please let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with this. As always, I'm sharing this stuff and I put tons of miles on this stuff, not because I'm trying to sell you a shoe, but I'm just trying to inform you and go, hey, I'm gonna go put miles in this to help you figure out, is this something as I wear it in, is it something you might be interested in, or is it something you should be like, nah, I'm passing on this and maybe check out something else? Because I don't want to sell you things, I want to educate you on things. And it's really helpful that if you do have experience with this stuff, please comment below and share, just so anybody else coming to this that maybe they don't have mechanics similar to mine, maybe they're different because we are all different people, maybe you have some similar information for them that may be helpful. So please comment and contribute below. It does help, and any comments, any feedback is always helpful, because I'm doing this for the betterment of other people. I want to educate you, like I've said before, and I really want to help you figure out how to keep this thing we call running and walking more simple, okay? This gets way too complicated. There's tons of shoes on the market right now. So if we can keep this a little more simple and just can enjoy the supposed to be simple active running, that's the whole point of this.